Good morning, students. Welcome to Best College Online Lectures. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about human reproductive system. As already we started the topic human reproductive system. In the part of that, we already discussed about male reproductive system and female reproductive system. Both are completed. Now we are discussing gametogenesis in human being. In the part of that, in previous class, we discussed about male gametogenesis, that is spermatogenesis. We just started spermatogenesis in last class. So, spermatogenesis is the process of production of spermatozoa in the seminiferous tubules of the testes in male human being. The process of production of spermatozoa in the seminiferous tubules of the testes in male human being is known as spermatogenesis. So that spermatogenesis we started in last class. Now we will continue the same topic, spermatogenesis here. Okay. So first of all, in the spermatogenesis, as already I gave you in last class, there are three phases. There are three phases in the spermatogenesis. The spermatogenesis, how many phases are there? There are three phases in the spermatogenesis. So, what are the three phases in the spermatogenesis? The first phase is phase of multiplication or multiplication phase. The second phase is phase of growth, and the third phase is phase of maturation or maturation phase. So the three phases already I gave you in last class that you may remember. So here the male gametes are produced in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. In that there are three phases in the male gametogenesis, that is the spermatogenesis. What are the three phases in the spermatogenesis here? That are the phase of multiplication, phase of growth, and phase of maturation. In last class, what we discussed here, the first two phases are completed. The first two phases, that is the multiplication phase and growth phase, both are completed. Once again, we recall that what are the phases we discussed in last class. So here, the first phase here is multiplication phase. In this phase, what will happen? The primordial germ cells are primordial germ cells are male germ cells. Already I gave you in last class. The primordial germ cells are male germ cells undergo repeated mitotic divisions. Which are also known as multiplication divisions. Okay, that leads to production of more number of sperm mother cells or spermatogonia. Which are also considered as sperm mother cells. So in first phase, that is the phase of multiplication. Phase of multiplication or multiplication phase. Here it is multiplication phase. In the multiplication phase, what will happen? The primordial germ cells are male germ cells. Primordial germ cells are male germ cells. You all know that the seminiferous tubules are internally lined by germinal epithelium. The seminiferous tubules are internally lined by germinal epithelium. This germinal epithelium contains two types of cells. One is the large cuboidal cells, that are male germ cells, and columnar or cylindrical cells are Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells involved in the nourishment of developing spermatozoa, and the male germ cells are primordial germ cells undergo repeated mitotic divisions. That produce more number of sperm mother cells or spermatogonia. Sperm mother cells are spermatogonia. As already I gave you in last class, there are two type of spermatogonia produced here: type A and type B spermatogonia. Type A and type B spermatogonia are the two type of spermatogonia produced here. See, in the type A spermatogonia and type B spermatogonia, what's the main difference in this? Type A spermatogonia act as a stem cells. Type A spermatogonia act as a stem cells which cannot undergo meiotic divisions. That cannot undergo meiotic divisions. Instead of meiotic divisions, that continue mitotic divisions. Mitotic divisions again that will produce two type of spermatogonia, type A and type B. So again, type A again undergo multiplication divisions or mitotic divisions again that will produce the spermatogonia. So here type A spermatogonia instead of one second, sorry for inconvenience. Some shade is there. Okay, right? So here, type A spermatogonia cannot undergo meiotic divisions. Instead of that, it undergo mitotic divisions only. Mitotic divisions and always maintain the number of spermatogonia. That always maintain number of spermatogonia in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. But what about type B spermatogonia? The type B spermatogonia undergo meiotic divisions and produce the spermatozoa. As already I told you, male human being can able to produce the gametes throughout the life, which is not possible in female human being. How male human being can able to produce gametes throughout the life? Because of type A spermatogonia, which act as a stem cells, that act as a stem cells. But type B spermatogonia undergo the phases of growth and maturation. Type B spermatogonia undergo the phases of growth and maturation that leads to formation of spermatozoa. If you observe here, the type B spermatogonia now, here the type B spermatogonia will grow in size by getting nourishment from the nerve cells that are Sertoli cells. So by getting nourishment from the Sertoli cells, type B spermatogonia grow in size. Type B spermatogonia grow in size and modifies into large primary spermatocyte. What is this? Primary spermatocyte. Okay. Here spermatogonia these are, and what is this? It is primary spermatocyte. How the primary spermatocyte is formed here? Primary spermatocyte. How the primary spermatocyte is formed here? By growth of spermatogonia, type B spermatogonia. Type B spermatogonia will get nourishment from the Sertoli cells and that will grow in the size. That will grow in the size and modifies into primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte. One thing you have to remember here, what is the number of chromosomes and what is the state of genetic material? Here it is a diploid. So primordial germ cells or male stem cells are diploid in nature. They possess 46 chromosomes. And the spermatogonia also diploid. That also possesses 23 pairs of chromosomes. That is 46. And whereas primary primary spermatocyte also diploid, that also possesses the total number of chromosomes as 46. Okay. So the two phases which already we discussed once again, I gave you here. Observe. There are three phases in the spermatogenesis which we discussed in last class. The first phase is phase of multiplication. What will happen in this phase? The primordial germ cells are male germ cells which are present in the germinal epithelium. Of Sertoli cells. will undergo repeated mitotic divisions. Repeated mitotic divisions that leads to formation of spermatogonia. That leads to formation of spermatogonia. Here there are two types of spermatogonia formed, type A and type B spermatogonia. Type A spermatogonia act as stem cells that undergo mitotic divisions and always that maintain the number of spermatogonia in the seminiferous tubules of the testis. But what about type B spermatogonia? The type B spermatogonia will undergo meiotic divisions that undergo two phases, growth phase and also maturation phase, and finally leads to production of spermatozoa. Okay, here which phase is completed? Ma, second phase, growth phase. So in first phase, what will happen? The primordial gem cells or male gem cells undergo repeated mitotic divisions or multiplication divisions that leads to formation of sperm mother cells or spermatogonia, which are of two types, type A and type B. Type B continue further phases, that is the growth phase and maturation phase. Okay, but type A act as stem cells that undergo mitotic divisions and that maintain the number of spermatogonia. Because of that only the male human being can able to produce the spermatozoa throughout the life. Next, after that, in growth phase, the type B spermatogonia increase in the size, grow in the size by absorbing nutrients from the Sertoli cells, and that will modify into primary spermatocytes. Primary spermatocytes. And after formation of primary spermatocyte, what will happen here? This primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1, first meiotic division. So you all know that meiosis is a reductional division, whereas mitosis is a equational division. In meiosis, there are two phases, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. In first year, you may learn that meiosis is divided into two phases, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Again, in meiosis 1, there are different phases. Okay. So here, this primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis, which will be completed into phases, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So first, it will undergo meiosis 1. It will undergo meiosis 1. You all know that meiosis 1 is a reductional division. Meiosis 1 is a reductional division that leads to formation of two haploid cells here. So primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1 that leads to formation of two haploid cells, because meiosis 1 is a reductional division. The number of chromosomes will reduce it to half. The number of chromosomes will reduce it to half. So what is the state of this? It is actually haploid. Total number of chromosomes here is only 23 in each cell. Only 23 in each cell. So what is this? It is secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte. So primary spermatocyte, which is a diploid cell that possesses 46 chromosomes, undergo meiosis 1, which is a reductional division that leads to formation of two secondary spermatocytes. Two secondary spermatocytes. These secondary spermatocytes are haploid in nature. That are haploid. Okay, that possess only 23 chromosomes in each. Right. After completion of meiosis 1, what will happen here? This secondary spermatocytes again undergo meiosis 2. Meiosis 2, maybe you all know that meiosis 2 is nothing but a mitotic division, because it is an equational division. In meiosis 2, there is no reduce in the number of chromosomes, because which is an equational division. It is similar like mitotic division, but where the reduce in the number of chromosomes takes place only in the meiosis 1. So meiosis is divided into meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Okay. In meiosis 1, there is a reduce in the number of chromosomes. Because of that, when the primary spermatocyte complete meiosis 1, that leads to formation of two haploid secondary spermatocytes. And after completion of this secondary spermatocyte formation, next the secondary spermatocytes undergo meiosis 2, which is equational division. Meiosis 2 is a equational division. Meiosis 2 is a equational division. In this equational division, the haploid secondary spermatocytes undergo meiosis 2, and that led to formation of 4 haploid cells, of which all possess the same number of chromosomes, that is 23 chromosomes. All are haploid here also. These are all haploid. Okay, haploid cells. What is the number of chromosomes here? 23. They all possess 23 chromosomes. All possess 23 chromosomes, and this haploid cells formed by secondary spermatocytes by meiosis 2 are known as spermatids. What are that? These are spermatids. Spermatid. Okay, spermatids. How many spermatids are formed here? By a single secondary spermatocyte. By a single secondary spermatocyte, there is chances for the formation of 2 spermatids. Here, there are 2 secondary spermatocytes. No. So that undergo meiosis 2, that leads to formation of 4 spermatids. How many spermatids are formed here? 4 spermatids are formed here. Is it clear? So these spermatids which are formed by meiosis 2 are immotile and non-functional. That are immotile and non-functional. So these spermatids will undergo metamorphosis, a morphological change, or a structural modifications will be done in the spermatid that leads to formation of spermatozoa. That leads to formation of spermatozoa, which is known as spermiogenesis. So spermiogenesis, these are spermatids. I'm continuing here. Observe. These are 4 spermatids formed. Now the 4 spermatids will undergo metamorphosis, structural modification, and that leads to formation of the motile and functional haploid cells, that is the sperm. So these are spermatids. Spermatid undergo metamorphosis. That process here, the modification of spermatids into spermatozoa is known as spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis, that you have to observe. Spermiogenesis. Now I will give you 1 second. So here, what is this? Spermiogenesis. I will give you the details of spermiogenesis. Just remember once how the sperms are formed here. Observe carefully. There are 3 phases: multiplication phase, growth phase, and here this phase is there, no, where meiotic division takes place. In this phase, where the meiotic division takes place, that phase is actually observe here. This phase is a maturation phase, or phase of maturation. Maturation phase or phase of maturation. Okay, so that we have to remember here, phase of maturation or maturation phase is also we completed. Okay, observe the spermatogenesis. It is the process of production of spermatozoa in the seminiferous tubules of the testes in male human being. In this spermatogenesis, there are three phases: multiplication phase, growth phase, and maturation phase. In the multiplication phase, the primordial germ cells are male germ cells, which are present in the seminiferous tubules of the testes, undergo repeated mitotic divisions or multiplication divisions that leads to formation of spermatogonia. There are two types of spermatogonia or sperm mother cells, type A and type B. Type A spermatogonia undergo mitotic divisions and that produce new spermatogonia. So that act as a stem cells for the production of spermatogonia. Type B spermatogonia undergo the phases of growth and maturation that leads to formation of spermatozoa. See, type B spermatogonia will grow in size by absorption of nutrients from the nerve cells, that are Sertoli cells, and that will grow in size. This grown spermatogonia are known as primary spermatocytes. And after that, this primary spermatocyte will undergo meiotic divisions or maturation divisions. Maturation divisions means that are nothing but meiotic divisions. Multiplication divisions means mitotic divisions. Okay. So here that will undergo meiosis. In this meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 are the two parts. Primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1 that leads to formation of two secondary spermatocytes, which are haploid in nature and that possess only 23 chromosomes. Again, these secondary spermatocytes will undergo meiosis 2, which is the equational division that leads to formation of four spermatids. So these are four spermatids. These spermatids are immotile and non-functional. They cannot able to move and that are non-functional. These are spermatids. These are non-functional. Then that will undergo some morphological changes and modifies into spermatozoa. So it is a spermatid. It will undergo some structural modifications or metamorphosis and modifies into sperm. That is known as spermiogenesis. So if you observe here carefully, from a single primary spermatocyte, how many sperms will be produced? From a single primary spermatocyte, how many sperms are produced finally? 4 sperms will be produced. So it is a single primary spermatocyte which will produce 2 secondary spermatocytes that in turn produce 4 spermatids, and finally that leads to production of 4 spermatozoa. Okay, they may ask in exam, to produce 1000 spermatozoa, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required? To produce 1000 spermatozoa, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required? What is the number of primary spermatocytes required? One primary spermatocyte produces 4 sperms. So to produce 1000 by 4. What is the total number? 250 primary spermatocytes are required. Very simple. A single primary spermatocyte can able to produce how many spermatozoa? 4 spermatozoa. So to produce 1000 divided by 4, so 250 primary spermatocytes are required. 250 primary spermatocytes are required. So they may ask this question differently. To produce 20,000 spermatozoa, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required? To produce 20,000 spermatozoa, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required here? 20,000 divided by 4. So what is the number? 5,000 primary spermatocytes are required. Understood? One primary spermatocyte will produce 4 spermatozoa. That you have to keep in your mind. Same question they may ask differently. For example, same question what I asked here. What is the question? What is the question I asked here? To produce 1000 spermatozoa, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required? That I asked. The answer is 250. Okay. Now, to produce 1000 spermatozoa, what is the number of secondary spermatocytes required? What is the number of secondary spermatocytes required? One secondary spermatocyte can able to produce how many spermatids? Two spermatids. So the two spermatids will modify into two sperms. So one secondary spermatocyte can produce how many sperms? Two sperms only. It is one primary spermatocyte. One primary spermatocyte will produce four. What about one secondary spermatocyte? One secondary spermatocyte will be able to produce only two spermatids that will modify into two sperms. So what is the number of secondary spermatocytes required to produce 1000 spermatozoa? That is 500. So 500 secondary spermatocytes are required to produce 1000 spermatozoa. And 250 primary spermatocytes are required to produce 1000 spermatozoa. Then what is the number of spermatids required to produce 1000 spermatozoa? What is the number of spermatids required to produce 1000 spermatozoa? If you observe here, one spermatid will produce only one sperm. One spermatid will modify or undergo metamorphosis and produce one sperm. So to produce 1000 spermatozoa, what is the number of spermatids required? That is also 1000, because the number of spermatids is equal to number of sperms produced. A single spermatid will undergo morphological changes that will modify it to a sperm. That is known as spermiogenesis. I will give you that later in detail. Just observe here. Is it clear? Now, to produce, once again, primary spermatocyte, a single primary spermatocyte produce how many sperms? That produce 4 sperms. 4 sperms. A single secondary oocyte, secondary spermatocyte produce 2 sperms. And a single spermatid produce 1 sperm. So they may ask these numerical questions also in your exams. Okay, just remember, very simple. If you observe here carefully, from a single primary spermatocyte we got 4 sperms. From a single primary spermatocyte we got 2 secondary spermatocytes. From a single secondary spermatocyte we got 2 spermatids. From that 2 spermatids we got 2 sperms. Okay, so that also you have to remember here. A single primary spermatocyte is able to produce 4 sperm. A single secondary spermatocyte can produce 2 sperms. A single spermatid will undergo metamorphosis and produce a single sperm. Okay, so that also you have to remember here. Is it clear? Right? And after completion of that, next what we have to discuss here. Is it clear? Spermatogenesis in a male human being. Right. And now one more important bit they may ask in this topic in your competitive examinations, which are haploid and which are diploid. In the spermatogenesis, which are haploid cells and which are diploid cells? Observe here carefully. Now I am going to round up all diploid cells. See, observe here, it is a primordial germ cell or male germ cell, that is diploid, and spermatogonia also. This spermatogonia also diploid. Primary oocyte also diploid. So, which are the diploid cells? Or which are the cells that possess 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs of chromosomes in the process of spermatogenesis? The diploid cells in the spermatogenesis are male germ cells or primordial germ cells, spermatogonia and primary spermatocytes. They may ask in exam, which are the first haploid cells that develops? Which are the first haploid cells that forms? Which are the first haploid cells formed here? I am just Observe here with this blue, what I am round up here, that is haploid cells. So secondary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes, spermatids, secondary spermatocytes, spermatids, and spermatozoa or spermatozoa also. How many chromosomes are there in the spermatozoa? There is only 23 chromosomes. These are also haploid. So it is this pink, what I round up here with the pink color, that are diploid, and what I round up here with blue, that are haploid. So that questions also they may ask. So now observe here some questions, just follow. Already I asked you, once again I am repeating that question. Which is the first haploid structure or haploid cell that formed in the spermatogenesis? The first haploid cell. Which are the first haploid cells that produced in the spermatogenesis? What is the answer? Which are the first haploid cells that produce in the spermatogenesis? Secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte, secondary spermatocytes. And which is the last haploid cell? Which is the last haploid cell in the spermatogenesis? Which is the last haploid cell in the spermatogenesis? That is spermatozoa. The first haploid cell is secondary spermatocyte, and the last haploid cell is spermatozoa. Is it clear? Right. And they may ask, which is the last diploid stage in the spermatogenesis? Which is the last diploid stage? Which is the last? Which are the last diploid cells? Last diploid cells in the spermatogenesis. What are the last diploid cells here? Primary spermatocytes. The last diploid cells in the spermatogenesis are primary spermatocytes. The first diploid cell, male germ cells are primordial germ cells. Male germ cells are primordial germ cells are the first diploid cells, and last diploid cells are primary spermatocytes. And the first haploid cells are secondary spermatocytes, and last haploid cells are spermatozoa. Spermatozoa. I gave you here 6 stages. You may notice here. There are 6 stages. Primordial, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatozoa. Total how many stages are there? There are applied the second here, sorry, the first stage. So the diploid stages here, primordial germ cells are male germ cells, spermatogonia, and primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte. And haploid stages here, secondary spermatocyte, spermatid, and spermatozoa. Secondary spermatocyte, spermatid, and spermatozoa are haploid. A single primary spermatocyte will produce 4 spermatozoa. Or to produce 4 spermatozoa, how many primary spermatocytes are required? A single primary spermatocyte is required. A single secondary spermatocyte can produce 2 spermatozoa. Or to produce 2 spermatozoa, how many secondary spermatocytes are required? 2. To produce 1 sperm, how many spermatids are required? 1 spermatid. 1 spermatid will undergo metamorphosis that leads to formation of 1 sperm. Okay. So this type of numerical questions they may ask in your exam, that you have to keep in your mind. Okay. Right, that you have to remember. For example, to produce 2 lakh spermatozoa, What is the number of primary spermatocytes required? A question for you. To produce 2 lakh spermatozoa, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required? What is the number of primary spermatocytes required to produce 2 lakh? 2 lakhs by 4. 2 lakhs by 4. So, once again, listen carefully. The question: to produce 2 lakh spermatozoa, how many primary spermatocytes are required? To produce 2 lakh spermatozoa, how many primary spermatocytes are required? 2 lakh divided by 4, that is 50,000 primary spermatocytes are required. One primary spermatocyte produces 4 sperm, no? So here 50 primary spermatocytes are required to produce 2 lakh sperms, 2 lakh spermatozoa. And same question: what is the number of secondary spermatocytes required to produce 2 lakh spermatozoa? To produce 2 lakh spermatozoa, how many secondary spermatocytes are required? 2 lakh by 2. 1 lakh secondary spermatocytes are required. 1 lakh secondary spermatocytes are required to produce 2 lakh spermatozoa. What is the number of spermatids required to produce 2 lakh spermatozoa? 1 spermatid equal to 1 sperm. So 2 lakh spermatids are required. 2 lakh spermatids are required to produce 2 lakh spermatozoa. So that are the numerical concepts you have to remember here in the spermatogenesis, right? They may ask one more question also here. I gave you primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, and spermatid. They may ask how many spermatogonia required. For example, observe here. One spermatogonia will undergo the phase of growth and modify into one primary spermatocyte, right? So one spermatogonium will modify into one primary spermatocyte that will produce 4 sperms. So the number of sperms produced by a single spermatogonia is equal to number of sperms produced by a single primary spermatocyte. Because one primary spermatocyte is developed by a single spermatogonium, right? Is it clear? So this primary spermatocyte is developed by a single spermatogonium. So the number of spermatogonium is equal to number of primary spermatocyte. A single primary spermatocyte can produce 4 spermatozoa. At the same time, a single spermatogonium also produces 4 spermatozoa, because this spermatogonium only modified into primary spermatocyte. Spermatogonium only modified into primary spermatocyte, that you have to remember here. Next, after completion of this, one more question here. They may ask in competitives: what is the result of first maturation division in the spermatogenesis? What is the result of first maturation division? I told you meiotic divisions are known as maturation divisions. What is the result of first maturation division in the spermatogenesis? Formation of secondary spermatocytes. What is the result of first maturation division here? Formation of secondary spermatocytes. And they may ask, what is the result of second maturation division in the spermatogenesis? What is the result of second maturation division in the spermatogenesis? Maturation divisions are nothing but meiotic divisions, that you have to remember. What is the result of second maturation division here? Formation of spermatid. Formation of spermatids. The result of first maturation division, that is meiosis 1, that is formation of secondary spermatocyte. The result of meiosis 2 or second maturation division is formation of spermatid. They may ask, what is the result of multiplication divisions in the spermatogenesis? What is the result of multiplication divisions in the spermatogenesis? Which divisions are known as multiplication divisions? That are mitotic divisions. So, what is the result of mitotic divisions or multiplication divisions here? Formation of spermatogonia. Formation of spermatogonia. Don't confuse. If they will ask what is the result of multiplication division, means formation of spermatogonia. If they will ask what is the result of first maturation division, formation of secondary spermatocyte. If they will ask what is the result of second maturation division, formation of spermatids, spermatids. Is it clear? It is very simple questions they'll ask. They may ask in exam, which of the following are developed by equational division in the spermatogenesis? Which of the following is developed by equational division without reducing the number of chromosomes? Right? Did you get my question? Which of the following stages in the spermatogenesis are developed by equational division or without reduction of chromosomes? Without reduction of chromosomes. Which will produce without reduction of chromosomes here? The number of chromosomes maintained constantly in which stages? Observe carefully. In the multiplication divisions, that is mitotic divisions, the number of chromosomes are same. That remains same here. At the same time, meiosis 2, secondary spermatocyte to spermatid. It is also, meiosis 2 is also equational. It is also equational. There is no change in the number of chromosomes. The number of chromosomes in the secondary spermatocyte is 23. Same number of chromosomes are maintained in the spermatid also. So if they will ask, no reduce in the chromosome, means both you have to consider. Okay. So that is mitotic division, also meiosis 2 you have to consider. If they will ask reductional division or reduce the number of chromosome into half, there is only one stage, that is the secondary spermatocyte formation. That is meiosis 1. Meiosis 1. So these are some questions they may ask in competitive examinations that you have to remember here. Already I told you which are diploid stages, which are haploid stages, which is the first diploid, which is the last diploid stage, and which is the first haploid and which is the last haploid, and what is the number of spermatogonia required to produce four sperms, what is the number of primary spermatocytes required, what is the number of secondary spermatocytes required, and what is the spermatid required to produce the respective number of chromosomes, what they will ask in exam. Okay, so that's clear about the spermatogenesis. And what is the time required to complete this spermatogenesis? The entire cycle of spermatogenesis may completed within 65 to 74 days. So 65 to 75 or 74 days. Approximately, we can consider as a 2 months or 2 to 2.5 months. It will require 2 to 2.5 months of time to complete a complete cycle of spermatogenesis. To complete the spermatogenesis, it required 65 to 74 days of time, or 2 to 2.5 months of time approximately. Okay, that also you have to remember. During this spermatogenesis is a continuous process that takes place continuously every day in male human being, and in every day there is production of 120 millions of spermatozoa by the spermatogenesis. In every day, how many spermatozoa are produced in male human being? 120 millions of spermatozoa are produced. Millions of spermatozoa are produced per day. Per day, how many spermatozoa are produced by a male human being? 120 millions of spermatozoa. 120 millions of spermatozoa are produced by a male per day. So, to complete the entire cycle of spermatogenesis, what is the time required? 2 to 2.5 months or 65 to 74 days of time is required. That also you have to remember. Now, 120 millions of sperm will produce per day. 120 million spermatozoa will produce per day. So they may ask in the exam, what is the number of meiotic divisions? Meiotic divisions completes per day in a male seminiferous tubules. How many meiotic divisions will complete per day? So here there is production of 120 millions. No? To produce 4 sperms, how many meiotic divisions are completed here? Only one meiotic division. So meiosis 1, meiosis 2, I wrote here, but it is not two separate. In a single meiosis, it is divided as a meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So to form 4 spermatozoa, 1 meiosis is required. So here to form 120 million, how many is required? 120 by 4. So that is 30 million times. 30 million meiotic divisions are takes place. And how many secondary oocytes will convert? How many secondary oocyte is required in the production of 120 millions? How many secondary spermatocytes are required to produce 120 millions of spermatozoa per day in male human being? That is 60 million. How many primary oocytes are required? 120 by 4. So that is 30 million. How many spermatids are formed in a male human being per day? That is also 120 million. 1 sperm equal to 1 spermatid. Okay. So that are the details of spermatogenesis. In this spermatogenesis, as already I gave you, the hormone that play an important role is testosterone along with androgen binding protein. The two important hormones here, testosterone and androgen binding protein. In hormonal regulation of male reproductive system, I gave you know. The FSH will act on Sertoli cells, follicle stimulating hormone. They act on Sertoli cells that leads to production of androgen binding protein. Androgen binding protein binds with testosterone that concentrates testosterone in the seminiferous tubules of testis. Once again, I am repeating this. Follicle stimulating hormone act on Sertoli cells or sustentacular cells. Then Sertoli cell secretes androgen binding protein. Androgen binding protein bind with the testosterone, which is the chief androgen in male reproductive system, and that leads to concentration of testosterone in the seminiferous tubules. When testosterone is concentrated in the seminiferous tubules, that stimulates the male germ cells to start spermatogenesis. Already I gave you that in the topic hormonal regulation of male reproductive system. So that we have to remember. If they may ask, which of the following pituitary hormone is responsible or play an important role in the spermatogenesis? FSH. FSH play an important role in the spermatogenesis because it stimulates the Sertoli cells to secrete androgen binding protein or ABP. That androgen binding protein will bind with the testosterone and concentrates the testosterone in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. That leads to production of spermatozoa, that is the spermatogenesis. So that's clear. Now here one more definition I am going to give you. What is spermiogenesis? Write down the definition for spermiogenesis. As already I mentioned here, what is spermiogenesis? See here, the modification of immotile and non-functional spermatids into motile and functional spermatozoa is known as spermiogenesis. 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 So here, write down the definition for spermiogenesis, which is also known as spermateliosis. Spermateliosis. Spermiogenesis, also known as spermateliosis. Okay, what is spermateliosis or the spermiogenesis? Write down the modification of immotile and non-functional spermatid. The modification of immotile and non-functional spermatids into motile and functional spermatozoa. Motile and functional spermatozoa is known as spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis. The modification of immotile non-functional spermatids into motile and functional spermatozoa is known as spermiogenesis or spermatoeliosis. Spermiogenesis or spermatoeliosis. Is it clear? What is spermiogenesis? Spermatogenesis is different. Spermiogenesis is different. What is spermatogenesis? The process of production of spermatozoa in the seminiferous tubules of the testis in male human being is known as spermatogenesis. What is spermiogenesis? The modification of immotile and non-functional spermatid into motile and functional spermatozoa is known as spermiogenesis. See, during spermiogenesis, what are the modifications takes place in the spermatid, and how the metamorphosis of spermatids will complete that leads to formation of spermatozoa. That we will discuss later. Just remember how the immotile and non-functional spermatid converts into motile and functional spermatozoa. What are the modifications that takes place in the structure of spermatid? All that I will give you later. Just remember the definition. Right. After that, after formation of spermatozoa, if you observe, it is a seminiferous tubule. Here there are two types. Here the germinal epithelium. In these two types of cells are there. One is male germ cells that are large cuboidal, and another one is Sertoli cells like this. Sertoli cells are present. It's already been discussed here. And along with this, which are there, these are cuboidal cells. These cuboidal cells are sites of production of spermatozoa that undergo meiotic divisions. And after formation of spermatozoa, this spermatozoa, the head of spermatozoa is embedded into the seminiferous tubules. Observe here carefully. The head of spermatozoa. I am drawing here one more. Just observe. If it is a Sertoli cell, now the head of a sperm is embedded into spermatozoa. Head of sperm is embedded into spermatozoa. It will compare this with an animal which is drinking water in a river or in a pond. How an animal, for example, a horse, how an horse drink water in a water well or in a river. Like that, here also the spermatozoa, the head of spermatozoa is embedded into the Sertoli cells. Why? To get nourishment. So immediately after formation of spermatozoa, the head of spermatozoa is embedded into the Sertoli cell to get the nourishment. The head of spermatozoa or the head of sperm is embedded into the Sertoli cells to get nourishment. The head of sperm is embedded into the Sertoli cells to get the nourishment. After getting complete nourishment, this head of sperm is removed, or that head of sperm will come out from the Sertoli cells. So this removal of or release of head of sperm from the Sertoli cells is known as spermiation. Spermiation. So immediately after formation, the head of sperm is embedded into the Sertoli cells to get nourishment. After getting complete nourishment, the head of sperm is released from the head of sperm is released from the Sertoli cells, and later from this cavity, that is inside the seminiferous tubules, there is a cavity. From here, this will enter into rete testis to vasa efferentia to epididymis. This sperms will store there. So now write down what is the spermiation here. Spermiation, the release of head of sperm from the Sertoli cell. The release of head of the sperm from the Sertoli cell. The release of head of the sperm from the Sertoli cells is known as spermiation. That is known as spermiation. Don't confuse, ma'am. Spermiation is different. Spermatogenesis or spermiogenesis is different. Spermatogenesis is different. Is it clear? After releasing from Sertoli cells, this spermatozoa will be transported from the seminiferous tubules to rete testis, from rete testis to vasa efferentia, from vasa efferentia to epididymis. In the epididymis, this spermatozoa will store a maximum of 1 month of time. Already we discussed all that. Just remember once again, I will give you just 3 definitions here where you may confuse. Spermatogenesis. What is spermatogenesis? The process of production of spermatozoa in the seminiferous tubules of the testis. The process of production of spermatozoa in the seminiferous tubules of the testis is known as spermatogenesis. What is spermiogenesis or spermatogenesis? Spermiogenesis or spermatogenesis. The modification of immotile and non-functional spermatids into spermatozoa. The modification of immotile, non-functional spermatids into spermatozoa is spermiogenesis or spermatogenesis. What is spermiation? The release of head of sperm from Sertoli cells. The release of head of sperm from the Sertoli cells is known as spermiation. So that you have to remember, only one topic is remaining, that is spermiogenesis. Already I gave definition and how this process takes place. How metamorphosis or the structural modification takes place in the spermatoid, how that leads to formation of sperm. That we will discuss after the discussion of structure of sperm. After discussion of structure of sperm, I will give you what are the structures that modified and form the sperm. What are the various structures and how that are modified to form a sperm, okay, in the spermatoid, that we have to discuss. So that is about spermatogenesis. After completion of spermatogenesis, we have to discuss about oogenesis, female gametogenesis. Here I am not giving you the structure of gametes. I will give you the structure of gametes separately, the structure of sperm and structure of ovum separately. At the time, I will give you this spermiogenesis also. Okay, right? That's clear about the spermatogenesis. Before going to start oogenesis, take 5 minutes of short production of ova in the ovarian follicles. The process of production of ova in the ovarian follicles of ovaries is known as oogenesis. Now we are going to discuss this topic, oogenesis. It is oogenesis. Oogenesis. What is oogenesis? The process of production of ova. The process of production of ova in the ovarian follicles. Ovarian follicles of the ovaries. The process of production of ova. The process of production of ova. The process of production of ova in ovarian follicles. Ovarian follicles. Ovarian follicles of ovaries. The process of production of ova in the ovarian follicles of ovaries. The process of formation of ova in the ovarian follicles of ovaries in female human being is oogenesis. Oogenesis. As already I told you, exactly like spermatogenesis, here also there are three phases. The first phase is multiplication phase, the second phase is growth phase, and the third phase is maturation phase. Same phases are there in the oogenesis also, but when compared with spermatogenesis, when compared with spermatogenesis, the oogenesis is the most complex process. The oogenesis is most complex when compared with the spermatogenesis. And also it requires a long period of time, a very long period of time required for the oogenesis. But spermatogenesis will complete within 65 to 74 days, a single cycle of spermatogenesis. But it will require some years of time. Oogenesis is most complex process when compared with the spermatogenesis, and the spermatogenesis will begin only after puberty. Only after puberty, after attaining a sexual maturity age, that is 12 to 14 years in male. After 12 to 14 years in male, there is chances for spermatogenesis. But whereas in female, the oogenesis will begin in the fetal life only. If a female is in the form of a fetus inside the uterus of mother, then only in the fetal life only the oogenesis will begin. But it will be completed only after puberty. But it begins in the fetal life only, before birth only, the female start or initiates the production of ova, but it is not completed until the female reaches the age of 10 to 12 years, which is known as puberty. Is it clear? So, when compared with the spermatogenesis, oogenesis is the most complex process and it required a very long period of time, and also oogenesis begin in the fetal life only. If a female is in the form of fetus inside the uterus of mother, then only the oogenesis will begin in the ovaries of that fetus. But that ovaries will complete production of ovum only after puberty. So between this fetal life to puberty, there is a long period of time, 10 to 12 years of time. So that much of long period is required to prepare the ovaries to get an ability to produce the ova. Okay. But whereas in the male, the spermatogenesis will begin only after puberty. It will complete within 2 to 2.5 months of time. But here it requires some years of time. Okay. So that we have to keep in our mind. And one more thing you have to know here, in the case of spermatogenesis, which is the longest phase, which phase required more time, which phase occupies more time, that is maturation phase. Maturation phase required a long period of time, or that is the phase which take a long time in the spermatogenesis. But in the oogenesis, growth phase is one of the phase that occupy most of the time. Okay, so that all details we have to discuss here in the oogenesis. Here, one thing you have to know in the oogenesis, you have to learn the development of ovarian follicles, the development of ovarian follicles along with the process of oogenesis. So oogenesis takes place along with the development of follicles in the ovary. As already I told you, there are ovarian follicles in the cortex of the stroma, ovarian stroma. So these ovarian follicles will undergo growth phase, and many modifications will be done in the ovarian follicle. That first starts as a primary follicle, modifies into secondary follicle, that modifies into tertiary follicle, and finally that will modifies into a completely formed, a mature follicle, which is known as Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle. Okay. So in this topic, we have to learn the maturation of follicles and oogenesis simultaneously. How to learn the maturation of follicles or the growth of ovarian follicles and oogenesis. I will give you both simultaneously. Okay. First, what will happen is I'm drawing here the diagrammatic representation of ovary or the diagrammatic view of a ovary. Okay. So maybe you all know that the ovaries are unshelled almond-shaped structures. These ovaries are unshelled. If you observe like this, this is a ovary. So it is the space is not sufficient here. So like that, you have to just draw a rough diagram of ovary. Okay, here in this ovary, as already I gave you at starting, in the ovaries, there are 4 regions I gave you, 4 layers I gave you. The outermost is germinal epithelium. Inside that, tunica albuginea, and the internal space, which is known as stroma, is divided into outer cortex and inner medulla. Now observe carefully here. I am going to draw germinal epithelium. So ovaries are covered by germinal epithelium. Externally, ovaries are externally covered by germinal epithelium. What is this? Germinal epithelium. The ovaries are covered by germinal epithelium. Germinal epithelium. Like that. Ovaries are covered by germinal epithelium. It is germinal epithelium. Ovaries are covered by germinal epithelium. If you observe in the testes, seminiferous tubules also contain germinal epithelium, but seminiferous tubules are internally lined by the germinal epithelium. Here, ovaries are externally lined by the germinal epithelium. The difference you have to notice here. So, these are externally lined by germinal epithelium. And germinal epithelium possesses, here observe, germinal epithelium possesses primordial germ cells or female germ cells. Primordial germ cells are female germ cells. So here primordial germ cells, what I gave you in spermatogenesis, that primordial germ cells are also present here, the germinal epithelium here. These primordial germ cells, which are large in size, in all this germinal epithelium, primordial germ cells, PGCs, primordial germ cells, which are large in size, will undergo repeated mitotic divisions. That will undergo repeated mitotic divisions, exactly like in spermatogenesis. Here also the primordial germ cells, especially which are large in size, will undergo repeated mitotic divisions. This phase is known as multiplication phase or phase of multiplication. Multiplication phase or phase of multiplication. So, ovaries are externally covered by germinal epithelium. Germinal epithelium possesses primordial germ cells. These primordial germ cells undergo repeated mitotic divisions. Repeated mitotic divisions, and that leads to formation of a couple of million, means 2 millions of egg mother cells are oogonia. Egg mother cells are oogonia. Egg mother cells are oogonia. So here, for example, it's a primordial germ cell. Primordial germ cells undergo repeated mitotic divisions that leads to formation of egg mother cells or oogonia. egg mother cells are oogonia. All are diploid in nature. All are diploid in nature. 46 chromosomes are there. 2n. It is also 2n. Here also 46. Here also 46 chromosomes. So that is the first phase. That is the phase of multiplication. So here in first phase, what happens in the ovaries and when it takes place? So the oogenesis will begins in the fetal life of female. During 7th month of embryonic development only, the oogenesis will begin. At which month of embryonic development? During the 7th month of embryonic development only, in the ovaries of female, this process will start. This process will complete. It will begin. Is it clear? Before birth only, the female started the process of oogenesis, but it cannot complete up to puberty. Only after puberty it will be complete and start production of ova. But it begins when it began here in the 7th month of embryonic development only. The oogenesis is initiated or that began in the fetal life of a female. Okay, that you have to remember. So it is very easy to remember. Already I gave you in the male human being during 7th month of embryonic development what will happen? During the 7th month of embryonic development in male human being, the testis descends into the scrotal sacs. The testis descends into scrotal sacs. During 7th month of embryonic development, testis descends into the scrotal sacs. So here during 7th month of embryonic development, what will happen? So in male human being during 7th month of embryonic development, the testis descends into the scrotal sacs. Here during 7th month of embryonic development, the oogenesis will begins. Oogenesis will begins. That you have to remember. And after formation of oogonia, where the oogonia are formed actually? Where the oogonia are formed? Oogonia are not formed inside the ovary. These oogonia are formed on the surface of the ovary. If you see like this, oogonia are formed on the surface of ovary, like this. How many oogonia are formed in each? That is a couple, means 2 million. 2 millions of oogonia or a couple of million of oogonia is formed in each ovary. How many oogonia are formed in each ovary? 2 millions of oogonia are formed. There is no chances for adding of oogonia further in life. Oogonia will form only during fetal life. During fetal life only, all the oogonia are produced. There is no adding of oogonia further in the lifetime of a female. So how many oogonia are formed in each ovary? A couple of million, means 2 millions of oogonia are produced in each ovary of a female. Is there any chances for adding of oogonia further in life? No, there is no chance. The oogonia will form only once, that is during fetal life. In each ovary, 2 millions of oogonia are produced. There is no chances for adding of oogonia further in the lifetime of a female. So no more oogonia will added to ovaries. So how many oogonia are produced by multiplication phase in each ovary? By multiplication phase or repeated mitotic divisions, 2 millions of oogonia are produced. These oogonia are known as egg mother cells. Their spermatogonia we discussed. No, here oogonia are the egg mother cells. Once again, I am repeating. Just observe. The ovary is externally lined by germinal epithelium. This germinal epithelium contains primordial germ cells or female germ cells here. That primordial germ cells, which are large in size, will undergo repeated mitotic divisions, and form a couple of million or 2 millions of oogonia in each ovary. There is no chances for adding of oogonia further in the lifetime of a female. That will form only once in the ovaries. When it starts, it begins at 7th month of embryonic development. Now this oogonia are formed on the surface or outside to the ovary, but that have to enter into stroma, ovarian stroma. How it will take place? After formation, the oogonia will migrate into the stroma, especially into the cortex. This will migrate into the cortex by endocytosis process that will migrate into the ovary. In the form of a tube or in the form of a plug of cells. In the form of a plug means a connection. Cells are, this oogonia are connected with each other like this. In the form of a plug or in the form of a chain, this oogonia will enter into the ovarian stroma, that is also especially to the cortex of the ovary. So it is known as egg tube of Flugger. Egg tube of Flugger. Important one. Egg tube of Flugger. Egg tube of Flugger. What is egg tube of Flugger? The oogonia which are found on the surface of ovaries will enter into the ovarian cortex in the form of a plug or in the form of a chain of oogonia, that is known as egg tube of Flugger. So, by the formation of this egg tube of Flugger, the oogonia which are found on the surface, will enter into the cortex of the ovary, that you have to keep in your mind. So that enters into the cortex of the ovary. Once again, I am repeating, the oogonia which are produced here, that means on the surface of ovaries or outside the ovaries, will enter into the cortex of the ovary in the form of a chain or in the form of a plug of oogonia, in the form of plug of oogonia or in the form of chain of oogonia, that will enter into the cortex of the ovary, which is known as egg tube of Flugger. Egg tube of Flugger. Is it clear? Clear? What is egg tube of Flugger? Okay. The oogonia which are formed on the surface of the ovary will enter into the cortex of the ovary in the form of a chain connectivity or in the form of a plug, which is known as egg tube of Flugger. Egg tube of Flugger. Shall I erase this? Immediately after enters into cortex, what will happen? Immediately after enters into cortex, this egg tube of Flugger, the oogonia which are in the form of chain or in the form of plug or in the form of sequence, will immediately modifies into a round mass of oogonia, all which entered inside one. After enter into the cortex of the ovary, this oogonia will modifies into a round mass of oogonia, like this. Oogonia in the form of plug that entered, in the form of a chain that entered into the cortex. Now in the cortex, this will modifies into a round mass of oogonia, which is known as egg nest. Egg nest. So the oogonia in the egg tube of Flugger immediately modifies into a round mass of oogonia after enters into the cortex, which is known as egg nest. So what is formed here? There is formation of egg nest. Egg nest. What is egg nest? The egg tube of Flugger immediately after enters into the cortex of ovary will modifies into a round mass of oogonia. Round mass of oogonia, which is known as egg nest. Egg nest. So now one thing we have to remember here, the oogonia are actually formed on the surface of ovary, but that entered into the cortex of ovary in the form of egg tube of Flugger. But after enter into the cortex of ovary, the egg tube of Flugger is modified into a round mass of cells or round mass of oogonia, that is known as egg nest. Egg nest. This egg nest will further modified into ovarian follicles. This egg nest will modify into ovarian follicles. That ovarian follicle will grow in size, modifies into primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, and finally into Graafian follicle. That Graafian follicle will release the ovum. Okay. So the growth of ovarian follicles and oogenesis are the simultaneous process that takes place simultaneously at the same time. Is it clear what is egg nest? The oogonia enters into the cortex of the ovary in the form of egg tuba flagger. Immediately after enter into cortex of the ovary, this egg tuba flagger will modify into a round mass of oogonia, which is known as egg nest. That's clear. Now, multiplication phase completed, migration of oogonia into cortex of the ovary is completed. Now, after completion of this, what will happen? In each egg nest, one oogonium will grow in size and modifies into primary oocyte. In each egg nest, for example, in this egg nest, in each egg nest, one oogonium usually which is large in size that will start growing. In egg nest, one oogonium will grow in size. You will see here, it is a oogonium. So in each egg nest, one oogonium will start absorbing more materials. One oogonium will start absorbing more materials, and that will increase the size. Okay, that is growth phase. In the growth phase, what will happen? In each egg nest, only one oogonium, usually which is large in size, that will start growing. Growing in size and modifies into primary oocyte. So oogonia will undergo which phase here? Oogonia will undergo growth phase. How many oogonia in each egg nest? Only one oogonium in each egg nest, and here that will modifies into primary oocyte. Once again, I am repeating here. Already I gave you what is egg nest. Once again, listen. The oogonia which are formed on the surface of ovary will enters into ovary in the form of a chain of oogonia or in the form of a plug of oogonia. So, in the form of a chain of oogonia or in the form of a plug of oogonia. After enters into cortex of the ovary, this chain or plug of oogonia will modify into a round mass of oogonia. This round mass of oogonia which is formed in the cortex. Listen. So, what is egg nest? I am repeating. What is egg nest? After enters into cortex of the ovary, the egg tuba flagger will immediately modifies into a round mass of oogonia. Okay. Once again, if you want to write down what is egg nest. Some students are asking what is egg nest. So I am repeating. Write down what is egg nest. So after reaching into cortex of the ovary, the oogonia which are in the form of egg tuba flagger, after enter into cortex of the ovary, the oogonia which are in the form of egg tuba flagger, will modifies into a round mass of oogonia. The modified into a round mass of oogonia inside the cortex is egg nest. After enter, will modifies into a round mass of oogonia, which is known as egg nest. Is it clear? What is egg nest? It is a round mass of oogonia. A round mass of oogonia formed by egg tube of flagger in the cortex of ovary. After enter of oogonia into the cortex of ovary in the form of egg tube of flagger, these cells or that oogonia which are in the form of egg tube of flagger will modify into a round mass of oogonia. A round mass of oogonia. This round mass of oogonia in the cortex of ovary is known as egg nest. Egg nest. That's enough. Okay. Is it clear? Right. Okay. Right. Next. Egg tube of flagger completed. Egg nest completed. What happened in the egg nest? In the egg nest, in each egg nest, one oogonium will grow in size. One oogonium will grow in size and modifies into primary oocyte. Primary oocyte. So here, one oogonium will grow in size and modifies into primary oocyte. Primary oocyte. Is it clear? How many oogonia are there? How many oogonia will modify into primary oocyte in each egg nest? Only one oogonium. Which oogonium will modify into primary oocyte? Usually, which is large in size? Which is large in size, that only starts, right? Once again, in each egg nest, the oogonium which is large in size will start growing and that will modify into primary oocyte. This phase is growth phase. This phase is the growth phase. Actually, the growth phase begins in the fetal life, but it will complete after puberty. It will be completed after a puberty. So, which is the longest phase in the oogenesis of a human being phase? That is the growth phase. Growth phase. Whereas in male, maturation phase. That you have to remember. So this oogonium will start growing in the embryonic life or in the fetal life, and that growth will continuous up to puberty. Okay. Now only one oogonium is modified into primary oocyte. Then what is the fate of remaining oogonia? There are many oogonia in each egg nest, but only one is modified into primary oocyte. What about remaining oogonia in this egg nest? The remaining oogonia which are present here will lose its ability to modify as a primary oocyte. Immediately after formation of one primary oocyte, the remaining all oogonia will lose its ability to modify as a primary oocyte because this primary oocyte will release some inhibitory hormones, inhibitory peptides. The primary oocyte will release some inhibitory chemicals. That inhibitory chemicals inhibits the remaining oogonia in the egg nest and that avoid the formation of more primary oocyte in one egg nest. In one egg nest, how many primary oocytes will form? Only one. What is the fate of remaining all oogonia? Remaining all oogonia will lose its ability to modify into primary oocyte. Primary oocyte, and instead of that, it is a primary oocyte. It is a primary oocyte. Around this primary oocyte, there are many oogonia oocyte because of inhibit primary oocyte. Now, the oogonia which are present around this primary oocyte will modify into flat cells like this, flat cells, and that will form a protective layer around the primary oocyte. So here it is a primary oocyte, and the oogonia which surrounds this primary oocyte are modified into, that will modifies into flat protective layer around the primary oocyte. This flat protective layer which is present around the primary oocyte, this one, this flat protective layer which is present around the primary oocyte formed by the oogonia is known as follicular epithelium. Follicular epithelium. Due to lack of space, I am writing inside the ovary, but you don't write inside the ovary. You will write outside. Okay, you will label outside this upper or lower. You will write there. but don't write inside the stroma of the ovary, right? So now in each egg nest, one oogonium will grow in size and modifies into primary oocyte. Immediately after formation, this primary oocyte secretes some inhibitory chemicals, modify into primary oocyte. So it's into one primary oocyte, and this oogonia, which lost their ability to modify into primary oocyte, will immediately modify as a flat cells and form a layer around the primary oocyte. What is this inside this red one? That is the primary oocyte. Already I gave you. Okay, so primary oocyte. Around this primary oocyte, now oogonia formed a flat layer of cells, that is follicular epithelium. Follicular epithelium. Okay, follicular epithelium. Later, these flat cells which are present about around, observe. So here it is the primary oocyte. Sorry, primary oocyte. Around primary oocyte there is follicular epithelium. Now after these flat cells of follicular epithelium which are present here, that will become cuboidal. The flat cells will become cuboidal. There are tube-like cells or sphere-like cells will form here. The flat cells which are present, around primary oocyte became cuboidal. The flat cells become cuboidal now. These cuboidal cells which are formed by the modification of flat follicular epithelial cells are known as granulosa cells. What are the cells formed here? Granulosa cells. Granulosa cells. So the flat cells of follicular epithelium. What are these flat cells? That are nothing but modified oogonia. Modified oogonia in the egg nest. That modified as a flat cells and form a follicular epithelium around the primary oocyte. What is the function of follicular epithelium here? Follicular epithelium protects the primary oocyte and nourishes the primary oocyte. So the primary oocyte will get its nourishment from follicular epithelium, and also this primary oocyte is protected by follicular epithelium. Later what will happen? This follicular epithelium will modifies into a cuboidal cell layer, which is known as these cells are known as granulosa cells, and this membrane, which is actually a multicellular membrane. It is actually a multicellular membrane, but here a single cell only formed. First, there is formation of a single cell that you have to keep in your mind. Is it clear? Is it clear? So now the primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of cuboidal granulosa cells. Cuboidal granulosa cells, and this membrane is now considered as a membrana granulosa. What is this? This membrane is known as membrana granulosa. Membrana granulosa. Membrana granulosa. So the cuboidal granulosa cells form a membrane around the primary oocyte. The cuboidal granulosa cells form a membrane around the primary oocyte, that is known as membrana granulosa. Membrana granulosa. Is it clear? The cuboidal granulosa cells form a membrane around the primary oocyte known as membrana granulosa. Membrana granulosa. Is it clear? Membrana granulosa. Now, this follicle is known as primary follicle. As already I told you, ovarian follicles will undergo various phases in their development and finally reach to a matured follicle or Graafian follicle. So, this follicle is primary follicle. This is primary follicle. Primary follicle. Is it clear? What is primary follicle? What is primary follicle? And before this also I gave you, the primary oocyte is covered by a single layer of follicular epithelium. That stage may also you have to know, that is primordial follicles. Primordial follicles. So it is formation of ovarian follicles, ma. Finally, it will have to develop as a matured follicle, that is a Graafian follicle. Then only the ovum will be produced. To complete entire this process, it will require 10 to 12 years of time. Because of that only, this oogenesis began in the 7th month of embryonic development, but that cannot complete up to puberty. What will happen during that phase? All these modifications will done. Okay. So first, egg nest is modified into primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. What is primordial follicle? What is primordial follicle? If the primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of flat cells, that is follicular epithelium, that follicle is known as primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. If the primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of flat follicular epithelium, that follicle is known as primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. And after that, what is primary follicle? If the primary oocyte is surrounded by membrana granulosa, a single layer of membrana granulosa. Okay. So if the primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of cells, that is membrana granulosa, a single layer of membrana granulosa, that is known as primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. Is it clear? Right. So now two follicles. Once again, listen. What is primary follicle? Some students are asking, what is primordial and what is primary follicle? Primary follicle. Okay. If the primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of follicular epithelium, the primary oocyte, if primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of follicular epithelium, that is known as primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. If the primary oocyte is surrounded by a single layer of follicular epithelium, that is primordial follicle. If primary oocyte is surrounded by membrana granulosa, a single layer of membrana granulosa, that is a primary follicle. So first, egg tube of leg modifies into egg nest modifies into primordial follicle, primordial modified into primary follicle. Now primary follicle will modifies into secondary follicle. Again secondary follicle will modifies into tertiary follicle. Again tertiary follicle will modifies into a matured follicle, which is known as Graafian follicle. Then the Graafian follicle will releases the oocyte. In human being, it is secondary oocyte, but we may consider just as a ovum, that is ovulation will take place. Okay. So here, what I gave up to formation of primary oocyte, I gave up to formation of primary follicle, I gave. In next class, we will discuss about the formation of secondary follicle. Formation of secondary follicle, and after that we will discuss about formation of tertiary follicle and formation of Graafian follicle and ovulation, how the ovum will releases or how the secondary oocyte will releases. All that we have to discuss. Okay, up to primary follicle it is completed. In next class we will discuss the formation of secondary follicle, tertiary follicle and matured follicle, that is a Graafian follicle. And what are the changes that takes place in the oocyte? Their primary oocyte will keep growing in size. Okay, this primary oocyte. And after that, primary oocyte will undergo meiosis 1. Meiosis 1. Along with this growth of ovarian follicles, this primary oocyte actually in the primary follicle, if you observe here, this primary oocyte already begin meiosis 1. But that meiosis 1 is temporarily arrested. It is not completed. Meiosis 1 will begin by the primary oocyte in the primary follicle, but it is temporarily arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1. So here the primary oocyte begin meiosis 1. Primary oocyte begin meiosis 1, but it is not complete. It is arrested in prophase 1. The primary oocyte begins meiosis 1, but it cannot be completed. Okay. So in the primary oocyte, in the primary follicle, the primary oocyte begins meiosis 1, but that is not completed. That meiosis 1 is arrested in the prophase 1, especially in the diplotin phase of prophase 1, meiosis 1 is arrested. Meiosis 1 is begun, which is the directional division. That meiosis 1 is actually begun by the primary oocyte, but mainly due to lack of sufficient levels of estrogen, this meiosis 1 is completely stopped in the prophase 1. In which phase of prophase 1? Diplotin of prophase 1. Okay, up to that you have to remember. Actually, the primary oocyte begins meiosis 1 when it is in the primary follicle. In the primary follicle, the primary oocyte begins meiosis 1. But due to insufficient levels of estrogen or due to lack of required quantities of estrogen, this meiosis 1 is temporarily arrested. It is stopped. In which phase of meiosis 1? In the prophase 1. In the prophase 1, in which phase? Diplotin. Okay. Up to that you will remember. In next class, we will discuss how this meiosis 1, which is stopped in the diplotin of prophase 1, will restart, and how primary follicle will modify into secondary follicle, and how primary oocyte will modify into secondary oocyte, and next secondary oocyte to secondary follicle to tertiary follicle to Graafian follicle, and how secondary oocyte again restart meiosis 2, and how it is arrested, and finally how the ovum will be produced in the female human being. All that we will discuss in next class. Is it clear? Right.